database or something space, right? It does not consume the space or database size of the Business Central.
No, it does not.
Okay.
Azure Blob is a separate service that you can purchase and utilize for storing documents. Yes,
Okay.
Sandeep sir.
Hi. You had a chance to go through the revised what's new?
Oh, there is a revised version? No, I didn't. I
You
didn't know
should.
that.
Interesting. The
Huh?
things are interesting now.
Good.
GL
That's.
entry, invoice posting buffer is replaced.
Oh man, no.
You should have exclude try functions when debugging errors, enable
Exclude.
no implicit. Love it's damn interesting.
Okay, that's good. I'm a little bit busy. I was telling Manish a while ago. I did check my calendar availability, and it seems till November, first week of November. I'm very much occupied at this moment. But yeah, that's a good insight. I didn't know that they updated it.
A lot of things are there. Earlier there was only few things. So technically, from a developer point of view, they are giving good features now.
Okay, I didn't add much for today, so maybe we'll go through that when they revised it. Seven.
They were revising it continuously. Matlab, see, I have
Oh,
seen it 3 days ago. It was different list. Now they have added more.
good. It seems there are some new additions because I did went out through all the links and then okay, that's good. Oh, there are so many countries being added this time,
Yes.
which I was not aware about that they're planning to add more countries. Hmm. Pakistan, Oman, Mongolia, and Kuwait, Jordan, Israel, Albania. Wow.
Do, do
Lot
you
of
know
Middle East companies.
if you had a company in the U.S. running Business Central and a company in Denmark using Business Central, can they
Mm-hmm.
use the same? Can they use the same instance, or do they each need like an instance that's in their region? I guess you'd say. Do you know?
They'll have to do it on their region because it's based on the CSP.
But tenant can
Uh,
be same.
tenant can be same, yeah. A tenant can be same, but they need to have two different environments. And Sandeep sir, correct me if I'm wrong. You can have two different production in the same tenant for different countries,
Multiple. Yes.
right?
I've seen
Yeah.
5.
Oh, that's good. So yeah, they John, sorry, Dan, to answer your question, the CSP will be different if I'm not wrong, because which is the channel sales partner, because they are based on regions.
I see.
So,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
as Sandeep sir is saying, that you can have them both of them in the same tenant,
Okay.
which means that this tenant ID will remain same, which means in the admin center they'll be able to see multiple. You can purchase additional production if required on this tenant. By default, it comes up with one production and three sandboxes, but you can purchase additional production environment if needed. And the way it helps is one of the features that's coming in the next release. It's kind of using the, what is that extension? I forgot. Uh, there is an extension which allows you to connect multiple environments, which may be in different regions, to kind of switch back easily.
Company
Is
hub
it?
or something.
Yeah, company hub,
Oh,
right?
yeah. I see. To toggle, like if you want to log in
Yeah,
between them. Okay.
right. And then one of the feature that they are planning to add in the next release is to have easy switch on the kind of on the rules on the Business Central homepage. Yes, this one, switch companies across environments. So if you have multiple environments, you will get an easy switch here, where you can switch between different environments of different countries if you have, for that matter.
Do you know if you can the users, like, could they be on the same domain? Like the same Windows or Azure domain, whatever you want to call it, across those two companies. Do you know?
They can be on multiple.
Well,
So
can
in,
they be on one? Just say it's 123.com, right? So could my users on 123.com in Denmark and my users in the US on 123.com be all on the same? They could be
yes,
on the same domain, but on
yes,
Yeah.
two different instances, I guess is what I'm trying to
yes,
say.
yes.
All right.
So I've seen five. Those were basically more or less four were in European region and one was this Britain.
Right.
After this, I saw after Brexit, I believe. So they were all separate instances, like production, and they were having 5 production and 15 sandboxes.
Wow. Interesting situation. But yeah, I guess that's possible. I have heard about it. I haven't seen it. Sandeep sir is saying that he has seen it, but I haven't seen it. But I've heard being part of those discussions with Microsoft, where they said, yeah, that's possible. You can have multiple production for different regions if required under the same tenant, which makes it easy when you try to do certain kind of integrations and things like that, because your tenant ID is same more or less. So you just
Small
have to
question:
change the last part. Yes, sir.
can we have two environments in the same region? Like for say India, if I've got two legal entities, can I have separate? I've not checked that,
You can.
but I
It's
believe you
just
can.
based. Yeah, you can. If those are two different legal entities, then they can just go and be a different customer for Microsoft, and you can have two different environments. That's not a problem. That'll not be a problem. Okay. Hey Dashrath, hey Vijay.
Hi, Saurabh. Good
Yeah,
evening,
hi,
Sandeep sir.
so
Good evening.
Okay, let's start. This is our 91st PC Open discussions. I have two questions for today, which I've heard, which came through the Microsoft form or via email or from some social media, and we'll talk about those, and then we'll open it up to decide what we want to do going further. And if there is some time, we'll surely revisit the updated release plan for Business Central. Okay, let's go through the normals. If you're watching the recording later on YouTube, this is the link that you go to register for the next meeting, and you'll be invited for the next meeting on that. Okay, so the first question is, and this came from I guess Microsoft form that we have. I'm using the online Business Central Sandbox environment and not able to use any assert, variable storage, system application test libraries. Test libraries. These are not available on Business Central Sandbox environment. So is there any way to use this while using Business Central Sandbox environment? Anybody know about this? Why it seems a problem?
No idea.
So I saw this message yesterday while I was sending invites, and I was checking what questions are there. And the first thought that came to my mind was, doesn't make sense to have test toolkit on a Business Central Sandbox environment, because the whole idea of the test suite is to make sure that developers are able to test their features in their Docker environments. That was the basic understanding that I had. And then today morning I was thinking about it, and I thought maybe taking that decision just by the knowledge that I have from learning about this 2 years ago. Maybe there's something changed around it. So I started doing some research on it, and then ended up on this article from Waldo, from Freddie, which is running test in Business Central online sandbox environment, and this is posted on 2021, which is quite a while now, a year approximately, or more than that. So the assumption that I had that the whole test suite was built for Docker environments seems to be incorrect. I haven't tested it out, but it seems that in the Dockers it was always possible to run the automated test. There were methods available in the module that is published for Docker so that you can run your automated test if they are part of one of your test app that you have published. But if you have worked on automated tests, there is one big problem that comes up, which is around the data that's needed for the test. Now, there are two kinds of data that kind of becomes critical. One is the process related data on which you are building your customization, which makes sense that the developer will also have to generate some sample data via code to make sure that it rolls back after the test succeeds or fails. But on top of it, there are some setup data. Like you might need a reference of sales and receivable setup or general ledger setup to run your test. Now let's extend it a while for next stage. If you're using an ISV and they have a setup, so you start doing all those automated tests on-prem, or sorry, on Dockers, then you also have to make sure that you set them up before you start thinking about just your test. And as a developer, you should only be focused on the test that you're writing, on the functionality that you have changed. But because of dependency of this setup data and master data, which gets a little bit trickier in case of ISVs, and this is my assumption, that's why Microsoft enabled of running automated tests on Sandbox environment. So what happens with that is, by default, for running tests, there is a extension which is available on-prem and Docker called Test Runner app, which is not by default installed on your Business Central environments. On Sandbox environment, to be very precise, you can't run automated tests even today on production that I have verified. So if you are running on Sandbox, you need to make sure that you install this Test Runner app. There are different ways to do it. You can either install it manually from Extension Marketplace, or if you are into admin APIs, then you can use the PowerShell command to install the extension for that environment. So let's go ahead and see, is that app available? I'm pretty sure it's not available for us at this moment. Yes, nothing on the test. So you can always go into Extension Marketplace and search for this app on the Sandbox environment. This is an app from Microsoft, and you just do a get this, and it installs the app on your Sandbox environment where you would like to run your test. Now, what's come up with this app or this extension is there is a page which allows you to run the automated test, which looks something like this. And people who have worked on automated tests in on-prem or in Docker environment, they'll know this, because this is how you come to this page and you see all the Microsoft test and the custom test that you have written, and then you can run it. Now, the only confusion that I have is with this, and let me see, is it there or not? Is it working? No, it didn't came. Extension Marketplace. What happened with that? Oh, already installed. Okay, good. So let's see. Here it is. The test runner is here, it seems. The test runner. And let's see the test runner page. Okay, now my confusion is because on-prem, if you have seen the Dockers or if you have seen the on-prem installation of Business Central, which kind of looks something like this. Okay. What happens is inside each app, you get a source, and not here, but actually here. So inside each app, you get an app and then you also get a test attached to it, like these. Test bank source, and let me change it to a list. These all are Microsoft tests which are available uh, for different apps. And what Microsoft have done, they have grouped different tests based on different areas where they attach to. Like if you have to test dimension, then there are some automated tests written inside this. And same for other areas. I mean, you'll have to spend some time to understand how they are grouped. But yeah, all of these have some code that you can refer when you are writing your test. So like this one will have different code units which are doing different tests on different parts of dimensions and so on and so forth. But at the same time, when we are looking at from the Business Central SaaS perspective on a sandbox, these apps don't seem to be installed. So what will happen if I do a get test toolkit is still my confusion. So let's check that. What this action does, it scans all the objects in all of your extension and tries to find the objects which are the test code units. And if it finds any of those, it just drags them here. We can do all and let's see what happens. So I didn't find anything, which means that none of these extensions which you are seeing are installed there. So you can't run Microsoft test. And if you read through this article, which I was sharing earlier, you'll understand the reasoning behind it, because Microsoft makes sure that all the automated tests are executed before a release goes out from the Microsoft Office, more or less. Whenever a new version or even a new cumulative update comes, they make sure that they run all the automated tests that comes from Microsoft. So you don't have to worry about any of those tests, any of these tests. They all will be part of the Microsoft have already ran them. So you only need to write your own tests, and those will be available on your Business Central Sandbox here if they are part of any of the apps that you have written as PDEs. Okay. Now back in 2021, this is all about how you run it on containers and all. You can also run these tests on Sandbox in container Sandbox by using this, which is different. Now here is where the question kind of becomes important. The test framework has 3 apps, which is any, assert, he might have misspelled that, or maybe it's a typo, and variable storage. These apps are used frequently while running the test, and at the same time, you use them as a dependency when you are writing automated tests. And there is a reason behind it, because these 3 apps, when you look at from the apps perspective, let's see, where is the any one? Any. These have so many methods that are very important while you're trying to write automated tests. So let's have a look on those. Okay. So the any have only one code unit, which have different methods. Like if you have to get a random number while you are writing a test, let's say integer and things like that, which returns you a random number, then you use integer in a range, where you say what is the max value that you want to return from it. Let's say 100. So then it will return any number between 1 and 100 and things like that. So it kind of helps you while writing tests, integer in a range, decimal in a range, and then there are other methods like this, date in a range. So these methods are useful while you're writing tests. So what Freddie is saying back in 2021, that these 3 are in 2021 are not available at this moment. and it'll take some time, a few months, to have them available. And then there are two apps, test libraries that contain test frameworks, plus two more, which is system application test library, which kind of have the test cases written for the system app, and then the test libraries. They're not available in the sandbox, and there is no plan of adding them, which means adding all the tests, which makes sense. So back then it was not possible to kind of get what this person wanted, which is the any, the assert, the variable storage, and the system application test. And I'm hoping the system application test libraries and test libraries are still not available, because as per Microsoft, they make sure that these tests are run automatically. So you don't have to worry about it. If you're taking some reference of it, then you might have to copy those references into your test code unit to make sure that they become part of your app. As far as any assert and variable storage are concerned, this article says that they should be part of it somewhere in 2021, and we should have them. So I'll have to do a little bit more, spend a little bit more time into it by building a test where I can use any and things like that. But it seems that the minimum requirement that you have if you're trying to run automated tests on Business Central Sandbox is to make sure that this extension, which is the test runner, is installed there. And then I'll have to dig a little bit deep to understand what all is part of this. Any thoughts, questions around automated test? Okay. The last question for today that I have is around the additional layout. And this came via an email also about a confusion around when to use the and how to use the layout thing into it. So anybody have tried adding an additional layout, let's say on a sales invoice report on your Business Central environment? If a customer says, I don't want to change any code, everything looks good, how about if you can just have these, let's say, 5 field highlighted in my environment? What are the ways that are available? So let's go into, and this report is always wrong in here. Let's pick the right report. Anybody remember what's the report number for invoice for North America? This is based on North America. I guess it's 10071-ish. 74, I guess. Let me see. Sales invoice. Okay. Sounds good. Okay, so let's assume this is the report, and when the customer is trying to print this, everything looks good to them, whatever is part of the base Microsoft report. But just for kind of highlighting certain fields which are important that they think for them, they would like to, let's say, highlight the terms with maybe a different color in the background or something like that. And they might want to change the bold part, the bill to address as bold, so that kind of looks a little bit different in the report. So what are the options that we have as of this moment? And I'm talking about Business Central 20 at this moment. Anyone?
You can use word layout, things like that.
They would like to have RDLC report, which
I mean custom layout only.
Custom layout, yes. So let's talk about the steps of it. This is the report, what we saw, 10074, I guess. Yes. So what we'll do is we'll go back into our Business Central, either on-prem if you have on-prem environment, or if you have Docker. I prefer Docker because that's kind of a true copy of Business Central SaaS, more or less. And let's open it with code, the base app. Now, when you open this with this, then you get kind of access to all the objects. Now let's do a sales invoice. Okay. There are other ways, and I'll tell you all the ways, whatever you prefer. That I guess that would be sales invoice.rdlc. Let me see that. At the same time, while it is happening, because it's a big thing, let me open this and filter it on RDLC. And then look for sales invoice. Here it is, it seems. So let me copy this and let me paste it here. Just to be sure that I'm looking for the right layout that I'm targeting at this point. Okay. And let me open it in the meantime. Okay. This doesn't like me. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it seems the same report, but that's one way to figure it out, either from the product DVD or from the base app, as we are seeing it here. Now I know that 10074 has sales invoice. What I'll have to do is then pick this report, keep it out somewhere, and then do something else. The other way to get the copy of the base Microsoft report is you can, as Vijay was saying, that you can always go to custom report layout and then create a new layout here for the same report, which is 10074, and then say insert ARDLC layout. Okay, which will bring that report here, 10074, copy of built-in layout. Now what happens when you create a new record on this page? It automatically copies the default layout attached to that particular report and make a copy of it here. Now if you have to make changes, you will have to do a download of this layout, which is click on layout and then do a export layout. When you do an export layout, you get the default RDL or RDLC file, whatever you want to call it, which is a true copy of what comes from the Microsoft. So two ways. One, you can either get it from the okay, this my downloads is kind of in problem right now, so I'll have to kill this one. It might kill everything. Okay, bring it back. Okay, let me try getting that somehow. Okay. So what you can do is you can either get it from here or either get it from the product DVD. It's up to you how you want to get it. And then you make changes. And as Vijay was saying, that you can either stick to this page on custom report layouts and have it here, right? And then what is the next step? As in, I have made the changes that I have to make on this report, RDLC, and then I go into process and upload that report layout back in here. What's the next step after that, once I've done that part?
Yeah, assign that layout to the report, right? I think.
Yeah, assign that layout to the report. So let's say for 10074, once we have defined that, this is, let's say, BC discussion invoice. Assume the system will not pick this report. What you'll have to do is you'll have to go into a report page called report layout selection. And here, for each company, and you can have different layouts per company wise if needed. So for Cronus USA, I can go ahead and do a filter of report ID of 10074. By default layout that is set for this report is the layout of type RDLC, and it's located in the extension somewhere here. What you can do, if for Cronus USA, if you have to change that, you can choose as a custom layout. As soon as you do that, it'll populate the page of the custom report layout where we created it, and it'll show you all the custom layouts that you have built in for the sales invoice. And then that report will be used, or that layout will be used when anyone tries to run the invoice report from Cronus USA. Does that make sense? Now there's a problem with that approach, and what I've done is I've created a copy of the base Microsoft layout so that we can see the difference. What I'm going to do is, let's say I'm going to color these fields. Let's say with a, just for the demo, let's highlight them in blue. Okay, let me save this. Okay, let me go back into the report layout page, and then here I come and I say layout, update layout, sorry, layout, import layout, and then I pick a file, which is somewhere in my D drive, sales invoice heading. Okay, that layout got updated. So whenever I run it from Cronus USA right now, if I do a print, I'll get an output of the layout that I've just chosen, which is this. But if I change the company, the layout will be coming from the base app. Now this feature was available from Business Central 14, if I'm not wrong. The only problem with this feature was that anything that was part of this page was actually data. It is not a code, right? And there is huge amount of possibilities where users can come here, download a layout, change it, and upload it back again. So you'll never know what kind of changes, and you'll never know what is the exact report layout that you are referring to, because you can have 20 there for this, for one report. So in the recent releases, and I guess we talked about it, Microsoft did a small change into this, and which makes it easy and manageable more or less. So let me go and change that first. It should have by default changed it to, but let's see. As soon as I deleted that, it got empty, and you will get an error if you don't change it. This is the default one, so let's pick this one. Okay, so what is the change now? So what happens now is, if I create a new extension, here you go, and let's say, okay, okay, and then Cloud Sandbox, okay. That's using mine. I have the environment name different, so let's pick that up. That is bcopendiscussion. Let's pick and let's put it here. Okay. So because it was the data, you can't actually keep it in your source control, because you don't know when that data will change. Because a user who have permission to access that page can go there anytime and make changes on that layout. And you'll never know. And we have seen where we have 10-word layout for a report for different things, for emailing and things like that. And if a user changes it, we don't know what is the last version that we should retain on that report. So to handle that situation, what Microsoft have done is you can actually create a report extension now, which was available quite a while now. And let me pick it on mute and okay. Sales invoice, North America. Okay. I don't want to do any changes on the field. If you have to do it, you can do that. Some additive changes for sure. Once it is here, this is kind of more or less the default things that are available. But other than that, on a report now or on a report or a report extension, there is one separate section that's being added, especially in Business Central 20, if I'm not wrong, which is called as rendering. Inside the rendering section, what you can do is you can add layouts based on whatever changes you are making. When you do a layout, you need to name it. So let's say it says SDH invoice. Inside this, you can define a caption. Let's say sample layout. You can also define a path for the layout file, which I'll say that it resides in my extension, let's say in a folder called reports, and it's called SDH invoice.rdlc. And then I can say that it is also a type of RDLC. With this being said, when you do a build, it will surely build a folder and it'll also place a layout there. But if you want, you can just change it. So let's go in and I'll replace it with my file. Which is maybe I'll add one more file here, which is this. And for this, I can again, because it's a rendering section, I can say, okay, there is one more, which I would like to add. And this is my sample invoice 1. And that report is called as on the same path, but it is called as this. The benefit of doing or adding your layouts into your report, into your part of your extension, is that you know where the source is and the source remain intact. Nobody can go and change a layout file, even if they have permission to access the custom report layout area. So as soon as I publish this extension, I should see 3 layout options available for me in my report layout selection page. One that's coming from the base app, and then 2 of these coming from my app. And it is not just limited to this. You can again add n number of layouts. I don't know the limit. I don't read any limits at this moment. You can have okay, a copy of this, and this time you say this is of type Word. And you say this is my docs. We are building a layout for doing an emailing body or things like that. You can also add a Word or an Excel. All the options that are available, you can add multiple layouts. As soon as I build it, you'll see one more docx file created here. So let's do that. See here now. Now when I publish this extension, it'll add now 3 additional layout for this report. So let's try to do a publish of this. Okay, where is my Business Central? Here it is. So let's wait for it. Okay. So as it gets published, now I have 4 layouts. And how you know how many report layouts are there for one particular report in your customer environment? Because you might not be the only partner or the party who are making changes on their customer. They might have some ISVs. And you want to know what those are. For that, what Microsoft did on Business Central 20 is they also added a page called Report Administration, if I'm not wrong. Okay, report layouts. Oh yeah, the page is called Report Layouts, which list all the reports, all the layouts coming from which extension and what are their types. So for this report, there's a layout which is named in the extension. There's a description coming from the base app from Microsoft, and it is of type RDLC. So if there are some layout coming from an extension, it'll say so. So if you filter it out for that report, which we have just used, you'll see that there are 4 layouts. One coming from the base Microsoft app, and then others are coming from the report layout app, which we just built. So now I know that I have 4 layouts, and nobody who don't have access to the source control will be allowed to make changes on these layouts because they are not part of the data. They are part of the code, more or less. At this point, to make it easy, if you want to make your layout 1 as the default layout, I guess this is what we wanted. Let me see if I have the right selected. Where is that? This is the sales invoice only, which is the layout 1. Okay. From here, you can also set the one particular layout as default. So I can say set default. Now the sales invoice layout has been set for this report. So anytime anyone who runs it now will automatically pick the layout which is set as default, which is this one. So now if I go back to my posted sales invoice, I can print this from here. Yes. It'll pick the layout which I have selected as default. And you can also see the same changes on the report layout selection page because you have set it to default. If you go to report layout selection, you will see that for 10074, this one is right now set as the default here. And I'm hoping when I do it from that page, it does it default for all the companies. Yes, it does. So if you're making some changes and you have 20 companies and you don't want to go to every company on this page and change it, just make sure that you are in the report layout page where you can pick a layout and set it to default for all the companies. There is also an option which I don't know why they given this, to replace a layout. That is interesting. Let me see. I'm pretty sure I can't do it on the base app. Only user defined layout. Okay, cool. So if this is coming from extension, you can't do that. But if it is coming from the custom report layout selection page, like for 1306, I guess. Because these are user defined, which means coming from the custom report layout, I still think that this will error out, but let's see. Yes, because it's part of the Microsoft thing. But if I go into this method is not going away, the custom report layout, there's no announcement yet. But if you have multiple reports done this way for your customers, then make sure that you try to switch them into the extension model rather than keeping them as data, because that custom layout test. Okay, yeah. So here, if you see, it's not a built-in set. So now if I look for 10074, I should be able to replace this. Oh, it didn't got updated. Let me close this and open this again. Okay.
So, Rob,
Oh,
there is a
yeah.
online article that says that it calls these legacy create and modify custom report layouts. Says custom report layouts as a legacy feature is being phased out. Instead, you should start creating user-defined layouts as described. I put a link in the chat.
Yeah, I just opened it. Yeah.
I ran across this yesterday.
Okay. Report layout selection and then choose the report link. Okay. I didn't
It
know
still
that
kind
they
of
are going right.
still kind of talks about it, but it seems like they're gonna phase it out in some manner.
Yeah, they should, as in it's causing so many problems for at least for partners who use this feature, and then somebody reports it some other day that, oh, this report is not running because somebody made a change, and we don't know it who changed it because
Right.
it's just based on the rights, right? So going forward, even if you have these kind of changes on your customers today, I would prefer that you move it to this route using the rendering section. Because if you have read, as Sandeep sir was saying about the new features, this was already announced in the first draft of the new features. Microsoft is going to allow you to choose layout on the request page. And that's a huge thing, because now you don't have to maybe set all this. You can set it to default, which will be the default layout that will be chosen for that report. But on the request page of report, I'm assuming that there will be a drop down where you can choose which layout out of these 3 or 4, in this case, user would like to run. So now you need to make sure that all your custom report layouts that you have built in are kept intact in your source control. And if user would like to create it that way, as Dan was saying, that it marked as legacy but still available at this moment, they can still use that, and that's not a problem. They can still come into the report layout area and create new if they want. Like, I can go to the report layout area and just create a new one, as I used to do there, like here. Same like in the custom report range. I can do this, and I can say this is my test word and available in all companies. Yes, which is cool. What does that mean? So, and then, then you have to choose the layout file. Okay. Did I choose the Excel? That was the wrong option, I guess. Okay. Let's see a Word. Okay. It means that you have already downloaded the Word template for that report, and you just want to introduce that into Business Central. Then you can do it by this way. As a user, I'm saying. But that doesn't changes what you have done, more or less, as an extension, and they can't modify your layout. Users can't modify whatever you have done, either on a Word file or on an Excel file or on an RDLC file. Now, I don't know anybody have dig deep into it, but there is one new option added and nobody's talking about it. And that option is called as custom. There is Excel, we know, and we have talked about it. The default RDLC and Word was always there. But then there is a new report layout type, which is called as custom. And I don't know what that means. And it's giving an error. Oh, you need to set a MIME type. Let me set that. Let's see. Which is MIME type is. But yeah, nobody have talked about it from the Microsoft. I have watched all the sessions from Microsoft around reports. Nobody have talked about it, but it is here, and not just here for the developers. When you create a new layout, I'm pretty sure you see it here also, called external. So I don't know what external means yet. There's something cooking. We'll hear about it. Choose external layout file. Okay, that seems off, but okay. Something is happening behind the scene, which will come out someday. MIME type. I don't know even auto suggestions on it. Maybe this is taking reports to the direction that everybody wanted to, that you can have layout and somehow you can link it to the business central data set more or less. I don't know. But that is something that I'll explore if I have some time in future. But that external thing is still bugging me, what that is and how I'll kind of shape it into the whole report engine. Any doubts on this one? I guess that was the last question that I had. So yeah, if there's something else, we can surely talk about it. Otherwise, we can surely look at the what's new updated version. Nothing?
Saurav,
Yeah.
my question is not related to the layout, but I just
Mhm.
need to know what are crystal reports?
Oh, crystal. Yeah, very, you know, uh, it was a reporting solution, which is, I would not say similar to SQL reporting,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it works on the similar lines. As in people who have worked on Crystal, I haven't, to be very frank. But
Mm-hmm.
people who have worked on Crystal, some people have said, yes, those are great reports. You just need to, map the data and they are easy. I personally haven't worked on it, but they are not for sure supported with Business Central, to be very frank.
Okay. So, do you have any idea where they support any layout?
Yes, they used to. I
They
worked
used
on
to?
Crystal reports. So
Okay.
Visual Studio, no, when you used to use Access, then Crystal report was the preferred way of preparing reports. And they were more or less like what we used to have in NAV 2009 classic reports. Yes.
Okay.
They were not good at preparing MIS reports because metrics and all those things were a bit difficult. But yes, for layouts and wherever you can put, the idea was ki you can put those text boxes or information box repeater wherever you want. And
Anywhere
was
in the
very,
area.
very,
Yeah.
very easy to customize,
Okay.
drag and drop.
S- So, what's the extension for that basically for a layout? Is it in Word or
Hmm.
Excel?
It used to have, no, they used to give couple of these layouts just like SQL reporting. Earlier,
Hmm.
Microsoft also used to, that was the one of the preferred way of preparing reports
Oh,
because
I didn't know
yes.
that.
So visuals, wherever we used to code in Visual Basics. So we used to use this Access, yes, again Crystal report. So
Hmm.
VB used to, VB was not good in this reporting now. So you can see these layout reports, which you can see the
Right.
screenshot. They were pretty
Right.
good with that.
Actually, I was going through some of the documents on the net. The extension was .rpt. I'm not aware what is that.
But as in what reference you are looking, as in if you are thinking to upgrade them, impossible. I would rather do it from the beginning, the way they wanted it.
Mhm.
And I'm talking from the perspective of Business Central or NAV, right? If a customer have Crystal report and they want you to upgrade them, it's
Right.
easier if they give you a document or a explanation of what kind of report they want, rather than you start learning Crystal report now, which will be of no use, to be very frank.
Okay. So it's better to design a new report rather than upgrade
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a customer who were using SQL reporting, and they were ready to send me all the files that they have for SQL reporting. And I said, the amount of time that I'll spend on reading it, I know SQL reports, but I'll have to understand how the data set is built before I start transforming them to the Business Central reports. Rather than that, you tell me what your requirement is, and that'll be cost effective for you and time saving for me.
Okay. Okay. Great.
It doesn't make any sense to you learn now the Crystal report part and then try to upgrade them to Business Central. Nightmare. Even for the classic report, I'll say the same thing.
Okay. Okay. Understood.
They should tell you what they want. And yes, in a classic report, there is a way that you can always run it on their old version and see the output.
Mhm.
and it's still NAS, so you can understand a little bit of it, like whose report copy this report is, and then base your new report based on that the new report copy. But going from SQL report or Crystal report, I think it'll be a nightmare if you try to upgrade them. Do a new report dev on that. Easy enough.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Otherwise, we'll spend some time on the new things that we didn't talk about on BC 21, right? Sometime lost of what version we are in.
2022 was wave 2.
Yeah. Okay. So we do like look at everything which is kind of already added earlier, but then the new addition are adjust exchange rate easily, replace built-in batch job. Can you? You can now preview the effect of another area where Microsoft is adding the preview. Before posting, specify event detailed posting on general ledger or summarized. I guess that option was already there. So summarize and state report. You can also specify the adjustment will handle dimension. These options were available back then also, right? I don't know. I've seen these kind of options somewhere. Oh, in the transfer dimension value field. Okay. Okay. Edit price list in Excel. Okay, they just added the edit in Excel feature in that page, the price list page. I'm hoping. We can now turn off feature management of new sales pricing experience on the feature management for all users and start using. Okay. Is it completely baked in now? Because I heard from some developers from other partners that there is a still dependency of the old sales pricing and you should not switch to the new sales pricing. And I was not aware that is it completely baked in now or not.
Well, I didn't face any challenge.
Oh, okay. Okay. The expectation was that they did add it in Excel, which is okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, it's not there yet, but it will be.
What Dan, as in the
The edit in
editing
Excel
Yeah,
price list.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we were talking about because that sales price feature is still optional. You can either stay the old sales pricing way, or you can switch to the new modern pricing engine from Microsoft.
Right. I think they changed one of the pages. So it's like half implemented and half of it you turn on as a feature is what I saw.
Yeah, I heard it somewhere also from some other partners, but
They're trying to make the purchase and the sales pricing the same,
yes,
I think,
and
because they're different. You know what I mean? They're slightly different in the past. And I
this is
think they're
that feature
making the
which is going away in 2022. The old feature is going away in 2022.
right. By the way, if you have a customer that wants to use some of the purchase stuff, there's some pieces of the purchase that requires that to be turned on, even though it says sales.
Oh, but those are not listed here. How you enable those then?
You enable this right here.
Yeah. And that'll enable the purchase part also?
There's some purchase pieces that require this to be turned on,
Okay.
even though
Okay.
it says sales, and I think that's become because the purchase and sales functionality is becoming the same.
Right.
So it's starting to become tied together in some manner. I'm just a FYI. I was looking at something the other day, and I had to turn this on to see something on the purchasing side.
And you can't roll back this once you enable this. That's a catch.
Right. Yeah, I was just doing it like in a test environment to see how it worked. But
Right.
and the actual question I was looking into is whether you could edit a price list in Excel. I'm not sure. It seemed like maybe you used to be able to, and it went away with this version.
Yeah, it seems they're bringing it back. Let's see.
Yeah, they'll bring it back, but now I guess you got to use a config package.
Yeah. Use different GL account for payable and receivable. Okay. Which is
This was
alternate
supposed to
GL.
come in the previous version.
Yeah.
They didn't. They removed it. We discussed it.
Right. We
And
discussed it. That's why I'm saying I read it somewhere. Okay. So let's hope this time it comes. You can enable alteration of default customer or vendor posting group by choosing allow alter. Oh yeah, we discussed about it on sales and receivable setup and service management setup pages for customer and purchase and payable setup for vendor posting group changes. So you can substitute. Okay. When you apply an invoice and a payment that are posted with different customer or vendor posting group, resulting in different GL account, Business Central transfer amounts between the GL account to balance them.
so if you have got a payment with say deposit,
Oh yeah, you explained it last time.
yes.
Right, I remember it now. Okay. So yeah, let's hope this becomes reality on this release. Okay, country and region, we have seen these new countries being added, and I'm hoping these are partner driven, not Microsoft driven. Let me see. This is a large demand of we are increasing. Okay, expansion of Albania is through partner led. Yeah. So I guess now any new country that's being added is a partner led localization rather than a Microsoft localization. All these new countries, I'm hoping, are using the partner led customization. There is no new countries that being added with Microsoft localization. Okay. Development. Okay. There seems to be a lot added. Extend general ledger posting aggregation.
Invoice posting worker is going.
Oh man, that'll be a nightmare, man. And I'm talking from the perspective of guys from the upgrade team. We have so many customizations on this area. So this will be a nightmare for us to kind of refactor all that. The previous design was not extensible because of the primary key in that table cannot be changed without introduction of breaking changes. Okay. The significant difference in table localization in APAC, BE, ISIT, NA, and RU. This refactoring makes the posting process for sales, purchase, and service extensible. Partner can also change the way of posting algorithm aggregates GL entry, for example, by specific document line, posting group, or any tag setup that is required by local legislation. Partners can replace customization by using the interface for GL invoice posting, resolve legacy issues for invoice posting buffer, and use their own implementation for GL invoice posting. We remove the dependencies from invoice posting buffer in the base application and build an invoice posting component with an interface and an extensible enum for implementing setup. Okay. We surely will have to spend some time into learning. If you haven't, as in we surely did a session, but we might need to go a little bit deep into the I forgot the name interface part, because the sales pricing or the purchase pricing engine technically has been moved to the interface. Now the invoice posting buffer, the whole logic that every developer surely touches that area sometime if needed to modify the posting routines, is also going to the implement to the interface route. So understanding of interface is becoming important day by day. We'll have to start thinking about what kind of exercise we would like to do, and I'll be happy to spend some time on interfaces. I have done it in past. I'll happy to rethink about it. This is very good, man. This was a nightmare, as in we can't do it, but now you can set up a new parameter called a startup company, and you can use it to launch it directly while you are running or debugging, which makes complete sense, because if you are debugging and if it goes to a different company, the debugger kind of loses control of where it was if you do a switch company. So this will surely help on the debugging scenarios. Other than that, I don't prefer to publish from VS Code, so that's okay. But yeah, like I don't know, do you guys know about this or not? But what you can do is you can, if this extension is deployed on your environment, what you can do is, and I'm talking about Business Central SaaS also for sure, and you're on Sandbox, you can actually do a debug without publishing,
Yes, we
which
can.
will, yeah, which will initiate a session on your Sandbox, but which will not update your app, which you don't want to do, because you don't want to publish from VS Code. So if you have the app there and you just want to debug, then you can use this command, debug without publishing. And that surely happens in scenarios where you would like to debug something, but you don't want to interface with any of the customs which are there, which are already published as PTE. In those scenarios, this command will help. And the best part is now you have a company parameter on your launch.json that will take you directly to that company while you're debugging. Yeah, that's good for the developers. Non-implicit with feature by default. Oh, that's good. Recommend using the legacy with statement, which will let the issue of classing entries to promote the use of explicit with the statement. We have now updated the ALGO template for new projects to enable explicit with statement by default. So great. When you create a new page from a source table, it'll automatically add the recs, I'm hoping, uh, rather than using the implicit with, which was there, which also tells you that Microsoft is started taking this seriously, and there will be an end date of implicit with. We take this pretty seriously in our source control, that going forward any code that we are writing, we should not have implicit widths in our code. If you haven't started thinking about it, this has been a while. I guess 4 release before approximately, Microsoft announced it, that implicit widths are going. So keep this in mind. The day Microsoft announced that this is gone from the next release, you'll have to start fixing all implicit widths in a bulk, which can be a time consuming process. So at least stop using the implicit width wherever you can, which is on pages, tables, when you think that it is already understand the rec, or in the code units where there is a table number attached to it. So start reducing that. I see it as a warning from Microsoft that in near future we are going to discontinue the implicit with. Okay, we'll keep on talking about it. This is interesting. I see a lot of things being added here. So maybe let's talk about it in the coming week. Anything else that we have in mind for the next week?
Should we have a session on the interface thing? I'm struggling to understand it properly.
Which
I
one,
don't know
sir?
about others. Interface.
Interface, yes. Let's think about a standard interface which is not as extensive as, let's say, the sales pricing, maybe a small one, and then try to think of a customization on it so that we can test it out together. So maybe I'll spend some time to see how many interfaces are available in the base app. I'm pretty sure there are quite a few, and then we'll take one which is pretty small so that we can start playing around with it.
Sure, then we can have session maybe in the coming month.
Yeah, because it's important now. Interfaces are becoming important. So these are the more or less interfaces available at this point. I guess this one would be the simple contact business relationship link. Other than all these, I don't
Can
think
we see in the system app?
in the system app. Yeah, there might be some. because they are moving things around. It's all barcode, data archive provider,
email connector. This I use.
Secret signature, systematic telemetry. So yeah, let's do this. As in, whosoever is interested in it, let's go through all of these and let's pick one which is the simplest one. I don't want to start with a complex one because we'll lose focus of what we are trying to do with the interface. So let's take a small one so that we understand it simply with an interface by trying to modify the behavior of that interface, and so that we are kind of have some idea when we stuck with a situation like this in future, which we are going to either with the invoice posting or this pricing engine. They all are moved to interfaces. I'll spend some time. I'll look for a simple one so that we all understand it. If you guys have some time and you see it, you can just drop me a ping or on any social media or send me a mail so that I know that, okay, this sounds interesting. And then we'll surely do something on interfaces. Okay. Okay. Thank you all and see you next time.
Thanks, Saurabh.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Saurabh.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.